I'm Jen Stringer. I'm the Associate CIO for Academic Engagement and Director of ETS, and a very proud part of Larry's leadership team. And I participate with all the folks here in sort of hoping to engage you specifically here today in thinking through how we can solve problems together. And this is just a fantastic and amazing event, so I'm really excited to be up here. My goal and role here today is to actually facilitate this session. So Larry asked you two questions before he sort of let you go have chatting and conversation and learn about what each other are doing. The first one was, what can One IT do to help you succeed in your role here at Berkeley? So that was the first question. The second question was, what is the biggest campus problem that you think One IT can solve? Okay, so now we're looking for answers and not questions, right? We asked you the questions. So I'm going to ask you to turn to your neighbor. Hopefully it's somebody you don't know, but maybe it's somebody you do. And I'm going to give you 5 minutes to actually discuss these questions. And if you have any aha moments and you have a card next to you, you can write them down or just remember them, because we'll be asking for your aha moments and your answers to those questions later on. So 5 minutes. Sharing together, answer those two questions and have a conversation about them. Okay? So, how was the conversation? Good? I'm hearing good. I'm seeing clapping. How was the conversation in the back? Good conversation? Good? Thumbs up, that's awesome. So, before I ask you to share a little bit about what you discussed, I did some walking around and asking folks, and we've been monitoring the Twitter feed. So what we've done is come up with a couple of themes that we've already heard, and I'm going to sort of throw them at you and see whether or not I get sort of a response of, yeah, that feels right. So next, there you go. So what can One IT do to help you succeed? That was one of the questions. And a couple of the themes that came up over and over again as I was talking to folks and looking at things was common services that IT folks across campus can leverage. I'll give you an example. SOAs and APIs, no excuses. That was a tweet, right? What can you do to help me do my job? You can provide me with services so that when I'm building things, I'm now channeling, that when I'm building things as an IT person, that I'm leveraging common services. Does that sound, yeah, I'm seeing heads nod. Another theme, professional development and networking. Just like this one. That's what somebody said. More of this. Yeah. So I'm also seeing heads nod there. So when you guys were answering this question, what did you say? Aha moments for what can One IT do to help you succeed? Aha moments across the one over there. Who has a mic? Raise your hand again. There you go.
There's a question for the audience first as part of this. So I'm curious about how many, one of the things we had a conversation about was how many folks in this room, if you get hit by a bus, your app or your system doesn't work anymore. So how extensive is the One Deep problem?
Can we raise it? How many of you, if you get tickets to go to Aruba and you just take off on the next plane, how many of your systems have no backup or support because you're the only person who knows about them? Hands up. How many? How many? Yeah. People are like, oh, I don't really want to admit it. My boss is in the audience. But yeah. Can we get your name?
Tom O'Brien?
Get your name. Just
Tom O'Brien.
Okay.
So that's for us. It would be great to have more coverage, more support, so that we're not having One Deep. So how do we provide more extensive coverage and backup?
That's awesome. Thank you. Other aha moments for what One IT can do to help you? Any other good conversation? I know everybody wants to get to the next question, which is like, how can we solve the big problems? But okay, so let's go to the next theme. What is actually, let me stop there. Larry, is there anything that you want to say about that theme, which is, go back. There you go. That one. And what you heard from the audience in terms of maybe helping provide backup support, leveraging systems.
Sure. Well, I think the key thing here is we need to put together some kind of an approach so that we're addressing this more as a community. I mean, I think this is part of what you and I were chatting about while everyone else was chatting as well. So, you know, as the campus CIO, I can't solve this problem just by sort of waving my hand. So we've got to figure out mechanisms, and I think this kind of a gathering is a step in the right direction, where we can engage with people about, well, okay, now how do we take it to the next level? And that's the real question. I mean, you know, common services that IT can leverage, motherhood, the flag, apple pie. But now, what are those services, and what are things that people are actually interested in, and what are the price points that make those attractive? Because, you know, I mean, we already know from some of the IST services that they're useful services, but maybe the price points on some of them aren't the most attractive. So that's a key piece. And the professional development piece, I mean, I've heard pretty broadly from everybody since I've been here. You know, and this is a side effect of the budget cuts at the very least. You know, there hasn't been a lot of professional development going on, and you all know how dynamic this environment is. So again, the key thing is professional development. Yeah, good idea. Everybody agrees on it. Now, what are the specific things that we need to try to pull together to deliver? We did a couple earlier this year that I think were reasonably well received, the ITIL training, for example. So we need to hear more of those kinds of ideas. What are the things that people are interested in? And, you know, certainly as a campus CIO, I'm happy to take the resources that I've got access to and leverage those any way we can to help provide opportunities across campus.
Thank you. Can I get a show of hands? How many people participated in the ITIL training that happened across the ITLG stuff?
Good.
Look at that. And look at the ones way back up in the... That's awesome. That's awesome. Great. Okay, now we'll go to the next theme. So the next question was, what is the biggest campus problem that you think One IT can help solve? And here a lot of people had comments about this one. So we heard themes around eliminate redundancy. Larry actually brought it up when he was talking at 9 o'clock, right? We're all doing the same thing over and over and over again. Can we eliminate redundancy? And I'll actually give you some quotes around that. One phone number for IT help. What Larry said, leveraging systems across units, break down silos, reduce redundancy. Okay? Another theme that we heard, helping users find the right IT services. That also goes to the one phone number for IT help. A good K-base for everyone, IT and users alike. Let's see. Here, from that one. Service catalog. Help users navigate all of our services and find them in one place. Does that sound like I'm seeing lots of heads nodding now. Lots of heads nodding. Okay. Larry, I'm going to give you a chance to respond, and you tell me if there's anybody in the front row here that you also might want to help respond to sort of how we might do these things with One IT.
Well, sure. So I'm going to pick on Lyle first and ask him to talk specifically about how the service management initiative might help with that.
So, Lyle. And then stand up and stand.
Okay. I'm going to stand in the light. Can we go back to the last slide for a second? These particular questions, you know, eliminating redundancy, helping users find the right IT services. And can we go back to the last slide? really come back to common services that IT can leverage. So what are the common IT services? We talk about the service catalog. We know today that it is really, really difficult to figure out what the services are, what are the common services that are being provided from a central IT standpoint, and how to go about leveraging those, right? So we actually engaged with a consulting company back in February, a company called Third Sky. Third Sky is really experts in the notion of IT service management. And so how do we go about thinking about the services that we provide from a service management perspective with everything that we do with the customer in mind? So we actually outlined a 3-year program, as Larry mentioned earlier today. There are 15 modules associated with that in year 1. We are going to kick off in July, I believe right around July 11th or so, 3 specific areas. One is IT governance as it relates to service management. How do we govern service management? How do we govern our services and our portfolio? And then there's a big piece of that is how does that fit with the overall IT governance program across the campus that Larry mentioned. Another piece is around service portfolio. How do we think about the service portfolio? How do we manage the service portfolio? How do items get into the portfolio? How do we eliminate services? How many of us on campus have really eliminated anything that we've started 37 years ago, right?
Yay!
Somewhat limited. It does happen every now and then. The other is service definition. What is a service? How do we measure that service? How do we ensure the quality of those particular services? How do we know that we're actually meeting the needs and the expectations of our users? So that's another program that we're going to kick off in July, another working session to really define that and figure that out. Can I ask you to go to the next slide? So part of that is, helping users find the right IT services is around what is the service catalog? Our service catalog today is really difficult to find, right? And a lot of times what happens is we have folks know somebody. I know Walt, so I know to go talk to Walt about X, or I know Jen or Ben Hubbard or somebody in Angela's organization, and so I know that's how I can get to find out a particular service. It's got to be much easier than that. And so part of this overall program is rolling out a new central IT and IT website, which Liz Marsh and Ben Gold are working on. And so there's a lot of effort going on with that. And part of that also is building out the service catalog. So there's a lot of work that's going on there, and we're going to be reaching out to many of you across the campus to understand, one, what are your expectations? What do you need? Because again, if I look at it just from a central IT standpoint, it's not going to meet your expectations. So I really need to understand how to engage with all of you to make that happen. And so a lot of work is happening over the course of the next couple of months and throughout the year.
And before we leave that, let me put a couple other people on the spot. I'll look at Angela and Eric and Jeff, or even you, Jen. People who are, not part of IS&T, but you've been involved at the table in the ITSM discussions. How do y'all view that? I mean, what do you see as the potential for each of you?
Sure, I'll start. I think the thing that is really helpful for us as we were trying to solve. Oh, I'm Angela Blackstone. Sorry, thank you. SAIT, Student Affairs, Information Technologies. We actually started about 1.5 years, 2 years ago trying to do the same exact understanding our services from the perspective of the customer. We did a major consolidation and alignment, and one of the things we realized is that not even the 7 teams we brought together under that Student Affairs umbrella understood what services were offered just within Student Affairs. And so we had to do some alignment there. We had to start asking our customers what their needs were, and there weren't really any common frameworks that we could find on campus. I mean, we were in the same boat that many of you are. Go to the main website, go to the IST website, try to figure out how to get services. I think we all knew how to order a phone. We knew where our database services lived, so we would identify Karen and call her. But we didn't have a common way of looking for those services. And so hearing that other organizations were in those same trouble spots with their own teams and seeing how some of the other activities on campus were coming together, we wanted to actually find where those other resources were. And so this is, I think, a major effort that's gaining momentum.
I think I'm Eric Fraser from the College of Engineering. I think underlying some of the responses that I've seen so far, about sort of, having a service menu and having that more easily found. To me, I think that underlying what we do here is really about, ultimately the people, and we need to find ways to motivate ourselves, to doing the right thing, and doing the right thing for the greater good. I think to me, and I don't want to stereotype IT people, but we tend to be a little more insular, and so there's not maybe the same kind of expectations. Oh, sorry, except for you, except for Angela, not Angela. And so there's, the motivation necessary. I've seen this from a, unit outside of central IT, is that the motivations always aren't there to do the right thing for the greater good. And so how do we create the motivations for ourselves? What rewards do we give ourselves? How can we use this forum to highlight the stars? What are the ways to bring the stars up and allow them to do the right thing for the greater good?
Anything from the library's perspective?
Sure, why not? So I'm the other Eric Mitchell. Oh, I have to go stand in the light, I'm sorry.
Wait, don't go to the light.
I actually look better in slight shade. So I think Angela and Eric also said, and I think from the library's perspective, we're a little outside of IS&T. We have all these buildings we run, and we have a unique community we kind of talk to a lot, right, with students and undergrads and grads and faculty and staff. And so a lot of the work we do is building these second-tier, very forward-facing services on, hopefully things that IS&T does very well. It's like networking and server hosting. And I think the really exciting thing that I've seen I've only been here a year, is how much change is happening. And so the discussion that we were having with Isaac and Amazon back here just before this meeting started, I think was actually really eye-opening for myself and a few other folks in the room, or in that small group, because it started, pointing yet another opportunity for us to leverage cloud services that really, didn't exist at Berkeley, I don't think, even just 6 months ago. And so, trying to figure out how to take all the services that are really important for us and push them towards these new opportunities to expand them and make better use of campus services is really a key focus, I know, in the library, and something we hope to get out of One IT and ITSM, which we kind of are looking at very eagerly and keenly to see how this goes. Thank you.
So what they said about ETS, I think that I'll just say it really briefly, because what I really want to do is hear from all of you. But I was actually heartened when I came here. I've been here a year and a few months. And I came from an organization that has begun to roll out IT service management and really think about how we could leverage that framework to deliver better services. And to get here and hear the same words sort of tumbling out of Larry's mouth, and then to sit around a table where leadership was actually nodding their head and not rolling their eyes, was wonderful. And so this past year, we've spent a lot of time in conversation amongst ourselves. And I think what's really important now is to start having the conversation with you all about, again, how you think this may help you do your job better. So we were hearing some of that. But I'm going to sort of ask you now, as you were having those conversations amongst each other, and I saw the thumbs up and the heads nodding, and you were answering those questions for yourself, what is it that you want us to hear from you? What is it that you think we can do to leverage One IT service management, to actually help you do your jobs better in the departments and the unit that you're in? What were those conversations like? Some brave soul. Any brave soul. John. I've got it. Up. Right here.
So I'm John Conheim, and I manage the Technology Program Office in the Office of the CIO. And I think one of the concerns that I have right now is particularly we are in a very challenging time, both economically, but also the pace of technology is very rapid. And so the question is, and this gathering is a very good start on this, is how to have better discussions about what is really important to our community, either individual segments of it or the community as a whole, and how we're prioritizing our resources to achieve those. We end up having a lot of fragmented discussions, whether it's at the IT level or the executive level. And so we're not able to direct our resources as clearly and as focused to bring the greatest benefit when it's most critical for us to do so now. But what I am heartened by is that listening to people here and their responses is there's a real willingness to do so. They're simply looking for a way that they can apply their effort to work with others.
Thanks, John. And I just want to echo that. This really is an opportunity for me to say something I wanted to say before we left today. So one of the highest priorities, and we have limited resources in the central IT organization, as all of you do, but one of the highest uses for those limited resources is finding ways that we can make investment that helps all of you be more successful. I mean, that's, that's really at the top of the list. Well, as well as keeping the internet working. But no, that kind of feedback is really important. I heard candidly early on after I came here from a number of you that, maybe we haven't listened as well as we should have in the past. And when we were creating services, there was certainly, I got a clear sense that to some extent we were creating services that we wanted to provide, not necessarily services that people wanted to use. So that's clearly a dynamic we've been working on. We need to continue to work on, and I'll just leave that as an open invitation to all of you that if there are ways that we can make some central investment that helps you be more successful, please, I want to hear about it, because again, that's one of our highest goods.
Any other aha moments just about those two questions? Because then I'm going to just open up the floor for questions of Larry and the ITLG. There's one behind, person with beard, and then person with green shirt. They both have green shirts. That wasn't good. Striped green shirt.
Yes. Hello? Yes. Yes. Years ago, I was. Somebody saw me down the hall and they say, who's that guy with the white beard? That was years ago. Anyway, I don't know, it just hasn't really changed. Anyway, we've been talking about like what we do, and what I would like to know more is, what everyone else does, what we do and what commonalities we have about the way we do our work and how we can develop best practices. And I mean, this is a huge organization. If we really need to come up with best practices so that we have something to measure against and to say, okay, we take on some new people, here's how we do things, and some idea of how to get that kind of dialogue started. That's one of my interests anyway. Thanks.
Green shirt.
Hi, Paul Colley with Shared Services.
Oh, can you please say your name? I'm sorry, thank you. And introduce yourself.
I just did.
We're doing that, right?
I'll do it again. Paul Colley with Shared Services. Hi. I love the idea of a single phone number, having spent many years in New York where they've implemented a single phone number for everything. That's awesome. And a website that with the catalog sounds like the same kind of thing. What I'm interested in seeing as being on the final end of that kind of thing, where I do tech support, is that the ticketing system, all of these things are going to create tickets, that there be a ticketing system that is very user-friendly for the user and very user-friendly for the provider to redirect the ticket or to deal with the ticket. And I know that in shared services we are spearheading the replacement for footprints, and I guess for what One IT can do is to help make sure that that is a really solid product that really helps communication between all the different units and all the different services and providers, and helps the user navigate through that system as well.
Can I get a shout out for a single ticketing system here? All right, so I'm going to ask Jerry Yardy to actually take that on, because they've got a project that may be the answer.
Thanks, Jen. I'm Jerry Urardi, Campus Shared Services IT. Oh, stam in the light. Okay. I was always told not to do that. Okay. So thank you, Paul, for asking that question. So I want to address two things. One is the one phone number for IT. You know, I have this futuristic vision, and some people on campus don't like to hear it, but I'm going to tell you today. So the goal would be to have one number to call for any IT need that you have on campus. And I know we're years away from that, but when you think about it from our client's perspective, wouldn't that be wonderful? I mean, you pick up the phone, you call one number, you hit option 1 for IT, and anything that you need to have done, you can do right on that phone. So, I mean, the goal is to march in that direction. And I think One IT is a great first step forward, right? We get everybody together, we start talking about these things, everybody's thinking about the same thing. Because the only thing that's going to make it work is collaboration, right? Cooperation, communication. So when we get to the one tool for IT, the project that's being worked on right now is for ServiceNow implementation. And actually, I'm very happy to say that Campus Shared Services IT will be going live with that on July 23rd. Our service desk will be using it, and we're going to escalate tickets to our field techs out on campus. The only problem is that, you know, we're still rolling it out. So some of our other IT partners across campus, we have to use multiple tools to kind of get the job done, but that's okay. We do that today anyway. But this is the first step in getting that tool active and working. So that's the incident management piece. We're also working on asset inventory, right? So that's another component. We have the knowledge base, which I heard someone mention earlier today. We have articles in the knowledge base today that were moved over from the Wisconsin knowledge base that are cleaned and scrubbed. They're verified articles. We'll be opening that up to our clients very soon. And the other piece that we're working on is for CSSHR. So there's a lot of activity going on. Part of the activity is putting together a governance committee. Lyle, Larry, and myself had a meeting a week and a half ago, and we talked about what the governance committee would do. So we'll be making decisions on who will be the next up to get the tool, what the tool looks like, any major changes to it. So we'll be having an active communication about next steps in the project. I think that's about it. Any other questions about that as far as the tool is concerned, or yes?
My question's I don't have to stand in line. Okay.
You can introduce yourself. Paul did twice.
Hi,
so.
I'm Kathy Lloyd, and I work
Hi,
for the
Kathy.
CFO, and I am a significant user of the ticketing system, and one of the big, I mean, there are many challenges with footprints, but one of the biggest ones is doing reporting out of it.
Yes.
And so I'm just wondering if, as part of the design of this, that you're going to be collecting feedback around the ability to count tickets. We use a lot of those metrics in determining how many Tier 2 support people we need, and looking at the kind of questions and rolling those back into the knowledge base or into our training mechanism. So having some design work, and I would love to volunteer to be on the thing.
That'd be great.
But if the design could incorporate some of the reporting needs, I think that would be huge.
Yes. So part of the tool itself is a performance analytics component, which is actually their module for reporting. The tool itself actually comes out of the box with some reporting. It's a little bit more time and labor intensive. So this reporting module will allow us to do a lot of what you're asking about. You know, kind of tie it back into do different things. It really is just strictly based in a world where you really need to have answers to what's going on. So that is part of the module that we're rolling out. The piece of this that is kind of more difficult is how are we going to use that across campus? For some departments, they may not want to do it because it is an additional fee. We're working on that pricing structure with ServiceNow right now. And there have been some different answers that we're putting in place for that. But the truth of the matter is we're really getting into a metrics-based world on campus for IT. My group in particular, I don't know if Louis Sue is here. Louis, where are you? He's our main man. He might be up in the top somewhere, but there he is, back there somewhere. But he's our main man right now in Campus Shared Services IT that's producing reports for us. And we are looking at the cost per ticket at the service desk, cost per ticket in our different zones across campus, cost per ticket in our procurement provisioning group, and really breaking it down to see what's going on, you know? And it's kind of interesting, but on campus, we haven't had a lot of data to kind of feed off of as a baseline. So we're kind of producing these reports, and people look at it and say, whoa, I didn't realize that this is what's happening. So that world that you're talking about is one that we're very, very interested in, and we will be moving forward on. So thank you.
And Jerry, if I can hitchhike on a couple of things. One is, and I'll pick up on that last piece, one of the things that Jerry's doing, which I think is really helpful, is, you know, this is not a problem or an issue that's unique to higher education, certainly not unique to UC Berkeley. So I don't know, hopefully most of you have heard something about the Help Desk Institute. Jerry's plugged into that, and they've got a huge amount of statistics available that really provide benchmarking across industries and across the country. So we don't have to sit around and go, well, okay, I'll take the number he just mentioned. So we're starting to generate some reporting on the cost per incident. Well, we know something about what the cost per incident should be, or at least is, elsewhere around the country. So we've got some data points to compare ourselves against and track against over time. The other thing I wanted to hitchhike on was Jerry mentioned we had an initial conversation about ITSM governance. What's really crucial to that for all of us is that be a campus-wide governance activity, not something that a couple of people in CSS and IST get together and start issuing edicts. This thing, if it's going to get the kind of buy-in and acceptance and usage that we hope occurs, is something that you all have to buy into and see as helping your particular situation. And it can happen, and it can happen in higher ed, and my last institution, we had something like 40 units on campus using the same ticketing system, and the benefits were huge. So anyway, I just want to make sure I underscored that.
Great. So, and I'm just going to quickly encapsulate what I think I heard, which is Campus Shared Services is rolling out ServiceNow, and they are planning on an incremental rollout around the campus as we move forward, but it's going to take some time. And there are folks in Campus Shared Services, if you're interested in finding out more about it, who can share more information with you. Yes? Okay, great. There's another question here. Yes?
Hi, Eric Geigerich with Intellectual Property and Industry Research Alliances. This goes back to your call for general questions or general needs. I'm not an IT guy, and I've been tasked with putting together an IT system that bridges two offices that use legacy systems, neither office is an owner of those legacy systems. So our unit doesn't have a culture of IT. We're suddenly needing to create a culture of IT because now we're being the owners of our IT system. So one need I would have, and I don't know how common this is because I'm in a room full of IT people and I'm not one, how to go from having no ownership of IT to now being sort of an owner of a new system. So how do we create a culture of IT? The gentleman over here with a white beard was talking about bringing on new IT people. Never brought on an IT person. We've never had IT staff. How do we socialize IT people in the university system? And one other. I want to have a cross-office committee of sort of how do we shepherd IT systems and ask IT questions in our office. Don't even know how to do that. What questions should we be thinking about? What tasks should we be looking at? So any guidance, any best practices like that would be of help.
Those are great questions, and I'm wondering if you want to either point in the front or you want to take a shot at least responding.
Well, actually, I'm going to look to the front row here, but would somebody like to volunteer to huddle?
Hi, actually, I would love to mention something we're trying to do for all of our administrative folks as well as our IT folks. James Dudek, I don't exactly know where you are right now, but we're focusing on an onboarding activity where we actually welcome all of our new folks and put them through a common practice and introduce them to the org structures that exist and committees that exist and resources as they are. We're going to make that better. But what I'd like to do is encourage you to contact James Dudek, and we can hook you up with our process. Oh wait, there's James now. Everyone say hi to James.
Hi, James.
Awesome.
I'm also going to ask Karen to say a little bit about maybe what might be coming down the pike in very slow form, right? Around systems.
So I'm Karen Cato. I'm Director of Enterprise Data, but I'm facilitate a group that's just kicking off. Many members are in the audience today. It's the Architecture Review Board, and we're starting to put together standards to help campus developers in this situation, at least as a resource to say, here's how we want to do things. We're in the really early stages of this, but we're attempting to pull that together. So that could, what's our website, Lucia? It's not up yet, but it'll be it's really fresh, but it's coming soon.
Great, thank you. Other question right here. Great. Oh, I'm sorry. Lyle, did you want to do one quick response?
Jeff in here?
No.
Jeff, ITC might be a good place to connect Eric. Maybe you can talk a little about that.
I'm sorry, and then we'll catch your question.
Well, and there are a couple campus groups. There's the IT Managers Forum, which is a great one. That's campus folks who supervise and manage IT people on campus. And then there's the IT Community Council, the ITC, and that's sort of the senior IT leaders from departments who represent IT on campus. So these are some good groups for your folks to be part of.
And so just, I know you want to move on, but so James, the two of you are going to get together and compare notes? Okay, so I'll make the editorial comment. SAIT really has a terrific onboarding program in place. And whatever you do, have some kind of a program. The last thing you want to do is say, there's your desk, the bathroom's down the hall, good luck. All too often that happens. So I encourage you to do a little better than that.
Great. And we've got somebody who has a mic in their hand already. Yes.
I've been on, my name's Kate. I'm with Letters in Science, and I've been on campus for about 6 years, and I still wonder about this. Why do we not have an intranet? We're a very public institution. People search our webpage constantly. We don't really want to publish all of our org charts, and yet I really want to know who works where, for whom, doing what. And a lot of these things that we're bringing up that we want to put online, I don't really know that I want all of the students to know about this. Is there a game plan for a secure intranet like Blue, but to hold more information? Or is there one that I don't know about, in which case I'm really sad and vaguely hurt?
Right.
Hey, Michael, can you talk
Michael, do you want to talk a little bit about
virtual networks,
there you go.
what you're doing there? And Paul suggested you so.
Paul will be dealt with. I'm Michael Green. I manage that phone and internet thing for the campus. So an intranet, we are going to work on a more secure network for the campus, but the nature of the institution, so when I think of intranet, I don't really think of the network. So I'm surprised you guys put me up here. But I think more of the content, so websites and how the institution coordinates centrally information intended to be reflected internally. And that's going to be tough in a decentralized organization. I'm not sure how you would round up all of the different organizations that publish information on the web. All of it exposed pretty much externally. So the best probably that I can think of that we can do from a infrastructure technology point of view is that we are looking at a secure network for the campus that would be more blocked off from the public. It wouldn't really allow incoming traffic. It'd be standard corporate style networking where you can go out and access whatever you like, but to come in would be through a VPN. So at least that would give you the foundation, and that maybe that's really the question, and not so much the content could be put on there and people could access it that way. So anyway, as close as I can get. Timing, yeah. Probably about a year. We're putting the foundation technology, or Isaac and the core networking team is putting the foundational technology in to create a virtualized network so that we can make partitions that would allow traffic to be separated. Right now, just so that everyone knows, there really is no difference between the campus network and the public internet. The boundaries on the border in no way look like a corporate network. I know folks that are from other institutions or other, or for the private sector may not realize that. The hurdles are so small, they can easily be jumped over. So it is the public internet. Just keep that in mind.
Hi. The other thing that I was going to add to that just really quickly is that there are still collaborative services that we offer that enable you to put stuff behind authentication. So as you're thinking about your org charts and those kinds of things, we've got Box available, we've got Drive available, and so there are a number of other services. CalShare is available to put context and content together and then put it behind authentication. It's not an intranet, but it is an option, and I think that the folks would be happy to talk to you a little bit about that. So. Okay.
Yeah, Cal Central might be for some cases, but yeah, Kate, hi, how are you? We just met a few days ago. I'm the IT director for LNS, relatively new. I've only been here since February, but one of the things I have proposed for LNS is that we do split our website. Right now, we just have one Drupal site that kind of has all the content mashed together, and it seems to me it'd make a lot of sense to split that into a public-facing and an internal intranet. And I've been looking at a couple campus tools like the SharePoint implementation. CalShare offers a really good way to kind of segregate that access and put some of the more sensitive things behind an authentication system. So we're looking into that and hopefully get there soon.
Great. Well, I think we're about out of time. So we have maybe time for one more question, comment, concern. Would love to hear from you. There's a question in the back. Everybody with the green shirt, everybody who has a green shirt seems to be asking questions today. It's awesome. Okay.
I'm Michael Thompson from Campus Shared Services.
Uh-huh.
And new to IT. And one observation I've noticed is that there are still units that we reach out to for support, and you have to know who to ask, how to ask it. You have to be the right person to ask it, or it won't happen. It's kind of a old school way of doing business, but it's alive and well in the IT realm. Another thing is that's surprising also are the way certain shopping carts look, and that if you're looking for a service, you have to say, it's not available. And then write it in the description, where the shopping carts are like, really just don't match. You get a list of 20 items, $0, none of them were available. That's pretty shocking for IT. It's not a question, it's a comment.
No, actually, yeah, Michael, please.
Okay, as a guy with a really hideous shopping cart, I can talk to you a little bit about that. So for telecommunications, yes, I don't see my item as a way to get a lot of the stuff out the door, and that is a big problem. And it is very difficult. We've been spending a lot of time thinking about that. A lot of our systems and a lot of the culture was dependent upon you being on campus for a very long time, knowing the right person to ask, know how to ask, all of that sort of thing. But that does have to change, and we've invested a considerable amount in central campus IT into building a platform that's a little friendlier. So, sorry to say this, but if you buy the voice service side of things, you'll see the new platform and where we're heading. On data, it's still the old system. But that will gradually turn, in, we hope, into a central place that one can go to get a variety of services in a lot friendlier way. I agree, it's not really like an Amazon shopping cart, but even as an order entry system, it's a little scruffy. So we're working hard on that and understand that it's a big problem and wastes a vast amount of time.
I'm actually going to ask Larry really quickly to respond to what I thought was the most interesting comment that he had, which is you have to be the right person to ask. And I saw some heads nodding when he said that. And I'm wondering if you might sort of address that issue for us.
Amen, brother. No, and many of you heard me with that comment shortly after I came here a year and a half ago, that you shouldn't have to know the current org chart in order to figure out how to get services. So, there's lots of different pieces to that, and I've jotted down, and I'm sure there are other comments as well. I mean, there's ITSM is certainly part of that. The service catalog is certainly part of that. Just doing a better job telling our story helps. So, is there a magic answer to that? No, but I think there's a number of things that we need to do. It's improve websites. I say it's a truly operational service catalog that mere mortals can use, that you don't have to be sysadmin to understand. So I think that we have lots of opportunities to improve that.
All right. I think that, first of all, I want to thank you all for being so engaged and willing to ask the hard questions. We'll do more of these kinds of activities to encourage you, for those of you who are a little quieter, to continue to give us feedback. And I think that we've got a few closing remarks, and then we'll let you enjoy the rest of the day. So,
thanks. Thanks, Jen. Is it coming up good? So I just need to take a couple minutes. First of all, thank you again for coming today. And and we're not done, so don't run off. I hope you have found this to be a terrific session so far, and hope you're enjoying your time and your opportunity to compare notes with your colleagues. I've certainly had a chance to learn some things myself this morning. I think I saw at least a handful of services that I had no clue even existed. So that's a very good thing. So I look forward to continuing the dialogue and the conversation and the collaboration with all of you. I can't leave, however, without very publicly thanking the One IT Committee and the IT Summit Program Committee, a number of your colleagues who made all this happen. And I think the feedback we're hearing so far is really positive. So I want to thank each of them for all their hard work and their forethought. And we're hoping that this is the inaugural event, as I think I mentioned before, that depending on the feedback, that we'll be doing this again. I also want to thank the many volunteers who from across campus who volunteered to be upstairs and to tell their story, and I think that's terrific. And I do want to offer a special thanks to Ben Gold, April Irwin, and Tanya Jansen, who've worked very hard to make sure that today was an enjoyable experience. Lots of nuts and bolts to put something like that together, attention to details, and they're the ones who've been on the front line on that. So I want to ask you to give all of those a round of applause.